Stop bothering me with every little thing.
Imagine a husband who could say something like this without a second thought. What would wives around the world say in response? There was a time when I would have just stayed silent, but now I would speak up clearly. Just so you know, if you regret saying that it's not my problem, I want to share a bitter experience of mine today. My name is Sophia, and I'm 44 years old. Throughout my 20s and 30s, I worked as an insurance agent, a true workaholic, and before I knew it, I was over 40. I met my husband when I was 43. He worked in health services, so we hit it up right away. That's when I became a housewife, which was his wish.
We can live comfortably on my salary alone, right? No need for you to work so hard.
After nearly 20 years of nonstop work since college, becoming a housewife was an unexpected turn in my life. Though my husband earns well, his job is demanding, leaving him no time for household chores. My job was also hectic with frequent overtime and business trips. After discussing it, we decided it would be best for me to take care of the home.
Sophia, it's a relief to have you at home. I'm counting on you from now on.
Likewise. Let's do our best. Both of us married late in life. Although we don't have the passionate feelings of our youth, we have been living quite happily. I wake up 30 minutes earlier than my husband to prepare breakfast, then do cleaning, laundry, shopping, and dinner prep after he leaves for work. As a former workaholic, I was surprised to find home life not as boring as expected. Housework can be as detailed as you make it. Using my homemade cleaning solution, I can make our home spotlessly clean. And by pulling extra effort into cooking, I create meals that are better than what's served in the restaurants. My husband is always happy to come home to a clean house and delicious food, making me feel glad about our marriage. But when did the atmosphere start to change? It began with something trivial. One day, when my husband came home looking particularly tired, I greeted him with a smile. "Welcome home." He called out. It was part of our routine. Usually he would smile and say, "I'm home." But that day, he just replied with a low, "Yeah." As I picked up his discarded shirt and socks, I asked, "Do you want dinner or a bath first?"
I'm tired right now, can't you see?
"What?"
So don't bother me with that when I'm tired.
He said this in a visibly irritated manner. Did I say something wrong? Yet I felt arguing with him in his frustrated state wouldn't end well. "I'm sorry, I'll get the bath ready." So I started preparing the bath, thinking he must be really tired. I must have been really tired. It's normal to lash out occasionally. I remember doing the same to my boyfriend when I was stressed at work. I thought it was just a momentary lapse. But in retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have been so submissive at that moment. After that, my husband changed completely. He's been constantly irritable at home ever since. He's in his 40s and a middle manager, a stressful position with pressure from above and below. All I can do as his wife is to create a peaceful and comforting home so he can perform at his best at work. I've been trying different things like making his favorite dishes and changing the bath additives daily to make his bath time enjoyable. However, his expression has only grown more severe over time. Eventually, he stopped reacting even to my "welcome home." We haven't even been married for half a year and we are already facing a marital crisis. I tried to have a talk with him. "Hey, what's wrong?" While silently sipping on the slightly expensive coffee I made, he kept his eyes on the TV. Is work tough? You seem tired lately?" The moment I spoke, my husband smashed his cup onto the floor. Our matching cups, a wedding gift from a friend, shattered loudly.
Shut up! Stop nagging me all the time!
I had never seen him so enraged. His eyes were wild, his face red, and his body shaking. As I went to pick up the broken pieces, careful he wouldn't get hurt, he looked down at me and said,
"You've got it easy, always lounging around at home, living off the work I do."
I was speechless.
You don't know the struggles of working outside, living comfortably every day. Look at you, married to me, enjoying life as a parasitic housewife.
His words were full of scorn and insult. I became a housewife at his insistence, so why was he saying these things now? His contradictory accusations left me muttering, "Have you been drinking?" But he hadn't had a drop. I wish he had. It would be less frightening than him saying such awful things sober.
Listen, from now on, don't talk to me, okay? I'm tired from work. You just keep quiet and stick to your house chores. Got it?
I looked down in silence.
Hey, aren't you going to answer?
Yes. And that was the end of our conversations. I thought it would be temporary, but it wasn't. He started treating me as if I didn't exist, ignoring me completely. He wouldn't touch the meals I prepared, bringing home sandwiches from the grocery store or eating out. He came home only to change clothes and bathe. Sometimes he would come home having already bathed somewhere else and go straight to bed. I was there but treated as if I wasn't. It was mentally exhausting, especially with our already strained relationship. I thought it was my duty to take care for my husband as a housewife, but he didn't even treat me like a person. I lost my appetite, dropping 2 pounds. Sleepless nights continued, and I dragged my heavy body through my chores. Then he said he wouldn't pay for monthly expenses.
I'm barely home. Don't eat or use the bath, so why should I pay?
And rent anymore. It made no sense. My words fell on deaf ears, ignored as if unheard. Disgusted, I started using my savings to cover rent and living expenses. After a month of this, I noticed something. I felt better. I was sleeping well and had an appetite. Thinking about it, he just bathed and slept when he was home. Separate bedrooms. If he didn't eat what I prepared, I could just make something light for myself and use the extra time productively. Cleaning and laundry were needed daily since it was just me most of the time. I'm basically living alone. Realizing this lifted my spirits. Fortunately, my years as a workaholic left me with enough savings. Even spending $1,000 monthly on living expenses and rent, I could survive for another 10 years. With my newfound free time, I started studying for certifications and looked for work-from-home opportunities using my experience as an insurance agent. That's when I found a remote job earning around $3,000 a month. $3,000, huh? But it's okay if I can do it in my spare time. For me, utilizing my spare time effectively mattered more than the salary amount. The job involved explaining insurance plans to clients over the phone or video calls, using materials provided by the head office. When I used to visit clients personally, many now offer remote services. Starting this job, I found it surprisingly enjoyable. I've always liked talking to people and listening to their stories. This job was a perfect fit. As an agent, I used to visit clients to meet quotas, often facing rejection, but this job had no such pressure and allowed me to work comfortably. I have still got it. Feeling needed again, I became even more passionate about my work. My salary, initially $3,000 a month, increased as I expanded appointments, nominations, and contracts, eventually reaching an easy $6,000. I was so engrossed in work that my husband barely crossed my mind. Then one day, he came home unusually early for dinner. Usually returning at 10 p.m., he was home at 7 p.m. today. Did he come straight from work? Well, it didn't matter to me anymore. With an exaggerated sigh, he addressed me.
Hey, the food.
His annoyance was palpable, but I was engrossed in reviewing a new insurance plan from my company, too busy to attend to him.
Hey, I said food. Are you deaf?
He raised his voice, approaching me threateningly. But I'm not the person I used to be. I'm busy right now. I was surprised at my own cold tone.
What?
He was too shocked to say anything more. I said, I'm busy. Can't you see? I'm working. His expression quickly turned to panic.
Okay.
He was visibly sweating, his mouth trembling slightly. Then I continued. If you're hungry, prepare something yourself. I'm not free either. As I returned to my work, he stood beside me, suddenly meek.
Sorry?
He became uncharacteristically submissive, quietly serving himself food as if not to disturb me like a sneaky cat. I almost burst into laughter at his thief-like behavior. Then he started looking around.
Sophia, where's the soy sauce?
It's on the dining table. Can't you see it?
Right, sorry.
He was awkwardly trying to gauge my reaction, speaking in a glowing tone. His behavior seemed utterly ridiculous to me. He remained unsettled throughout the evening. Since then, he started coming home earlier. I didn't care what time he came home, so I completely ignored him.
Sophia, about the dinner?
Seeing the unused kitchen, he timidly spoke. You said you don't eat at home anymore, so I didn't make anything.
Did I say that?
He was sweating again. Quickly pulling out a handkerchief, I wondered what was wrong. But then I realized that it was just allowed to cover up the awkwardness. He must be aware of the wrongs he had committed. Thinking so, I said, "You said you wouldn't eat at home and you wouldn't pay for living expenses because you're barely here. Forgotten what you said? Are you okay? Losing your memory at your age?" The old him would have retorted harshly, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I was just stating facts. I pay for everything in this house: rent, utilities, miscellaneous expenses. Could you stop using and eating things without permission?
But this is my house, right?
His weak protest was met with my sharp response. Your house? Don't make me laugh. How can it be yours if you don't contribute $1?
Huh?
He collapsed on the spot, inexplicably wiping the floor with his handkerchief. Huh? Was he mopping? I almost laughed at his bizarre action but held back. Then he said in a frail voice,
Sophia, what happened? You used to be so kind. I can't live if you're cold to me.
Can a grown man be so pitifully tearful? He sobbed like a little girl scolded by his parents.
I love you, Sophia. It's so sad.
Love? The word made me nauseous. Seems like I had to be blunt with such an insensitive man. After everything you've done to your wife, you dare say that? You haven't forgotten your actions and words, have you? I looked him over scornfully as I said this. Like a lamb cornered by a lion, my husband started to tremble. But his words were these:
I'm sorry. I admit I took out my frustrations on you because I was overwhelmed at work and things weren't going well. But back then, I was really going through a tough time.
He explained that he had been tasked with difficult assignments at work, desperately trying not to fall behind in the corporate ladder, detailing the hardships and struggles he faced.
I'll change my ways from now on, please. Forgive me. I'm begging you.
He rubbed his head on the floor, begging for my forgiveness. So, the earlier mopping was his preparation for this apology? I found myself oddly impressed by his foresight.
You're all I have. Please.
The old me might have forgiven him here. Just a little craze from work stress. It happens to everyone, right? So let's support each other as husband and wife from now on. But this idiot husband's misdeeds weren't just this. I know everything. Everything.
Huh?
I presented him with the investigation report I received from the detective agency that morning. It detailed his other misconduct. Emma, 26 years old, hostess at a bar. He tried to snatch a report from me but slipped on the handkerchief he had left on the floor, tumbling dramatically. You are quite taken with her, weren't you? Pretending to be single, even proposing marriage? That's why he turned cold towards me, why he started coming home late. He fell for this hostess after a chance encounter at a bar he visited for work, repeatedly courting her. Though she was never interested in him, he persisted and they started dating. Often spending time at her place, he had dinners and baths there. But once she learned from someone at his company that he was married, she decided to end things immediately.
I'll divorce my wife.
He pleaded persistently. If you come again, I'll call the police. She weren't breaking up for good. So you're back just because she dumped you? Don't make me laugh. Who would stay with someone like you? He was hit right on the mark. I handed him a piece of paper. Please sign this soon and I'll be claiming alimony for the affair in the divorce proceedings.
Divorce? Alimony for a divorce trial?
He stared at me, shell-shocked.
Is there no hope left? Am I going to be alone?
He began to cry again. I felt nothing for him anymore, just silently staring back. Pitiful. If you didn't want a divorce, why did you act like this? Why have an affair, pathetic man?
I may be pathetic, but please give me another chance.
No way. Don't take the world for granted. My words left him completely knocked out. And the final blow? Please sign this quickly. I want to be a stranger to you as soon as possible. He looked at the divorce papers and me, despair in his eyes. Eventually, we divorced, with all the blame on him. Due to my husband's many words and actions coupled with the fact that he was having an affair, I was able to obtain a considerable amount of deposit for the divorce trial. His actions, words, and the affair, along with the evidence like the broken cup he threw, my diary, and the detective's report all worked in my favor. Moreover, it seems my husband was also demanded alimony by his mistress. She was afraid of being sued by me, saying, I might get sued by your wife. But she realized that she didn't know he was married. She wasn't at fault and could actually claim alimony from him. A lawyer was involved to make the demands. Who gave her that idea, I wonder? This alimony issue combined with our messy divorce became the talk of his company, leading to his complete exclusion from the career advancement race. Well, that's his own doing. Bad actions always come back to the perpetrator. As for me, I significantly improved my performance in my work-from-home insurance job and got hired as a full-time employee. Despite being older, my career as an insurance agent and my own motivation were recognized. Having ended my marriage, I returned to being a workaholic, but I don't consider this past year a waste at all. Life is never dull with all its twists and turns. Rather, I see it as gaining experience from failing to see through such a despicable man. Insurance is important, you never know what might happen in life. My words coming from someone who's been through a divorce seems to resonate well with clients and lead to contracts. These past days of distress now seem almost like an illusion as I live each day to the fullest.